We'll show you 5.
Yeah. And just shout if I'm running out of time.
Well, everybody, thanks for coming. First speaker of this afternoon, Romain, is going to give us an update on the W3C.
I forgot to take mine yesterday.
W3C update on WebRTC. Romain,
Yeah.
please.
Yay, great. Hello, everyone. Hello, I'm going to start. So thank you for being here. I'm glad to open that dev room. It's my first time at FOSDEM, so I'm very happy to be here in front of you. And I ask you to be kind because I'm not used to present that much, right? And I'm open to feedback afterward. Just come and see me, tell me how to improve. I would be very, very happy to hear you. Okay, my talk is about W3C. Do you know W3C? Who knows that? Yeah. Raise your hand. Okay, that was an easy question for everybody to raise their hand, right? It's a worldwide organization. Everybody knows it. They define standards, and it's quite far from us, right? You don't know exactly what happened in that organization. There's big names and serious people around the table discussing things, and eventually they agree on something that applies to the market. And they've got some working group, and there is one working group which is about WebRTC. Okay, who works with WebRTC in the room? Okay, that's great. That was also an easy question in the room, real-time communication, right? So there is one working group that defines the standards for us on the market. So I thought that it was quite interesting to understand how it works and what are the topics, and maybe how to get involved into it so that the future is built by us, right? We are kind of part of the community, and the W3C is about getting the community to reach consensus. So it makes sense to be around the table. So in fact, first I was interested to know more about that organization, and I think that it could be interesting for you too. By the way, I'm Romain. I work for a company, like everybody, right? I'm co-organizer at DevFest in my city. Sorry, yeah, he's asleep. Right, get back. And also co-organizer at a meetup that will soon revive, which is called the WebRTC Paris meetup. Soon revive because it's been asleep for a few years, in fact. And so connect with me if you want to talk about those topics, of course. You can reach me on Twitch every Thursday also. Right, so I talked about that. There was been a standard that enables all the industry to agree on a protocol. It's called the WebRTC standard, and it came only in 2021. So it's very late, in fact. If you are in the WebRTC industry for a while, you use that protocol quite for a long time. It's not 2021 is not the beginning. It's kind of the end. So that's kind of what W3C is making sure that we agree on something stable. So from that moment, you can build on solid foundations your applications using WebRTC. And that's why it's quite interesting. What is quite interesting also is that it's a coupled action across W3C and also IETF. So W3C for like kind of the web, like the usage of it, and the other organization is more about how you structure the protocol, the networking protocol that enable the thing to flow across the clients. So that's quite interesting to join force on that particular topic. So they need to agree together, like the working group at W3C need to agree also with the working group at the IETF. I don't know how to pronounce that anyway. So yeah, happy we've got a standard, but in fact there is a lot of use cases that are already on the market. So what is the working group doing? So that work group, the WebRTC work group, They accept any individual to contribute or to participate. They also encourage anyone, any company or any organization to become a member. All right. So as an organization, you might be an end user. A company that builds a solution based on that protocol, or you can be also a browser editor, for example. You can propose new standards, so that's quite powerful. If you're a member, you can propose new standards. And as it's based on consensus, if your proposal is a need on the market, you will have a community that will gather around you, and then finally you can reach that consensus. Otherwise, if your proposal is not needed or is not appropriate, you will suddenly have rejection from the community or just nobody around you. So you can't reach consensus if there is nobody around you, right? So that's how it works. It's kind of democratic, in fact. It's having people gathering and trying to get better together. Each working group has leaders. So at the W3C, the WebRTC Working Group, we've got leaders from Microsoft and Mozilla and I can't remember the third one, like the big players, maybe Google or maybe or not, I can't remember. Anyway, so the big players are the leaders. And the leaders is, being a leader is a role that involves you to push forward the group without taking directions. So you need to provide energy to the group. You need to make the whole process to go on and on. Make sure that there is a real consensus around the table and trying to, in the end, realize the mission of the working group. So the WebRTC working group has some topics. So they worked on different topics in the past. We can have some mature topics that are already deployed in different solutions, different browsers. And so you can recognize that those APIs that you might use every day. So you can see that those APIs are widely accepted. They are solid, they are fundamental, in fact. So you can build on that. And there are also some topics that are still in discussion, more or less matured, but still in discussion. And those are still moving things, right? You can see quite interesting topics in there, especially topics that are optimization for having better quality, call quality, video quality in your application. So it's like more technical things. And also things that are more related to the UX, how you will make the UX better when you handle the communication through the WebRTC APIs implemented in the browsers. For example, you've got this one, the capture handle. This is something quite interesting. It's like making sure that when you are in a tab in a browser and then you share another tab in the browser, that the two tabs are aware of each other, so that you can know that you are sharing a tab on a specific domain, for example, so that you can adapt your behavior as a WebRTC application. You can adapt the behavior of your application depending on what is shared. And the contrary also is when you share, as a tab is shared, the tab knows that is actually streaming the content somewhere else. So you might also adapt the content of the tab depending on that. So that's quite interesting, right? We haven't thought of that quite often. And those topic has been raised by members of the working group. So if you want to raise a topic, you can do it. The WebRTC working group has a statement that defines its mission. And in fact, in that statement, that fundamental statement, they try to see what are the use cases that we want to reach. And that also gives a glance of what should be, what could be the WebRTC API in the future, or what could be done through that API. So for example, okay, file sharing, that's great use case. You've got like, I don't know I don't know why it's so used. The funny hats use case, which brings a lot of technical challenges around that, and also like bringing resources from the browser to get involved into the WebRTC protocol and the rendering of the videos. And you've got those things that are trendy. All these things about analysis of the voice and also the image. They call that face, but we can to maybe a broader perspective with saying, well, how do we do the analysis? How do we bring value to what is gone through the channel offered by WebRTC? How do we add intelligence on top of that? So that's in the roadmap. You might already do that in your application, trying to make sure that it's quite stable, using the APIs that could be provided by your browsers, like Chromium or Firefox, or I don't know which one, Safari, and try to make sure that it's quite balanced. I mean, you try to cover the gaps. So you know that if it's still in discussion as a standard, it might move in the future. All right, we've got other use cases like low latency broadcast with P2P relays. That was quite a topic, I think, and that's a technical changes which is very high. But you know that it's something that might be addressed by the working group in the near future. So how do you contact? How do you get info? How do you engage with the working group? So that's kind of the API of the working group. They've got a website. There is plenty of things. It's an institution, right? It's an organization for standardization, so it's like quite massive amount of text, right? But there is also a monthly discussion, so that you can just drop by. It's broadcasted on YouTube, so you can drop by and listen to the topics that are currently discussed. It's quite technical topics, right? But it's very interesting to know how it works, like the process of getting a consensus. You've got some samples that you can try on the future implementation. So you've got those topics that are still in discussion, and when you go through that process, and at the kind of the end of the processes, they try to release some sample. What should be, what the standard should look like when you use that in the browser, or you use it like not only in the browser, but most of the samples are in browsers. And finally, there is a massive amount of working group repository. It's mainly repositories for handling the modifications of documents. As you want to progress as a standard, you need to agree on a formal documentation of the standard. And in fact, those repos are mostly used for making sure that everyone that has an issue can raise a point, and then the point can be discussed, and a proposal can also be done through those repos. If you are only a participant, not a member, you can go into that discussion. Okay, you can propose things. You don't have the voice. You know, it's not like your voice is not as powerful as if you were a member. But in fact, you can drop your ideas, and for having discussed with them, they're quite open with different point of view, and especially when you are a user of those technologies, they are kind to have some feedback on what they're proposing. How to engage? There is a massive event from the W3C that is happening in Sevilla, which is quite near. I mean, it's not. It's quite a good place. It will be in September next year. And there is also a mailing list and an IRC channel. How to contribute? they are promoting the thing that you use GitHub for any suggestion. They want to track everything. It's a distributed, decentralized working group, so they want things to be written so that also it's precise, and so that it can be discussed afterward in a meeting. You can propose new topics if you want. For example, I talked about starting something about energy consumption and WebRTC. That might be good. Also to understand how we impact the energy consumption of all the client devices and also maybe in the networks across, to understand what is our impact on developing new features, and trying to get that into the balance when you choose adding new features. And if you want to get more info, I'm about, that's the last slide. I'm about to, sorry. So I'm not from the W3C, okay, just for you to know, but you can reach out those people, and they are dedicated staff for the WebRTC working group. They are very friendly. They are open for discussion. They can also bring you on the boat. So just reach out to them. And you can find those slides in my GitHub account. Thank you. Hey, just in time. Okay. Right. Join me on every Thursday at the WebRTC Wildcard Show. It's on Twitch. Thank you. Any question? No. Yes. Yeah.
What are you exactly doing from the perspective of the decentralizing messaging?
Me myself? No, nothing. No. In fact, so there is no. As far as I know, I went through a lot of reports of what is happening in the working group, and I have not seen much thing about decentralized messaging. But if you want to start something about that, they are okay for getting some help. Yeah. Any question? Thank you.
Good this morning.
Yeah, kind of hard.